Parker's Grille Tavern in Avon Lake, and we're here with Mitzi, who's going to hello, Mitzi. And Mitzi's going to talk to us a little bit about Parker's and what makes it special. What are some of their signature drinks? Of course, because this is Suburban Bourbon, we're actually going to try some of these drinks. And then the word is try.
And they look fantastic.
They are really good.
So we're going to learn a little bit about what these drinks are. We're going to have Mitzi tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll partake in some of them. What do you think?
Sounds great.
So Mitzi, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I not only bartend here, but I also book all the events here, on-site, off-site. We do a ton of caterings. It's actually kind of evolved a lot more throughout the years. I've been here about 7 years, so from 7 years ago to now, things have changed tremendously, not only because of the pandemic, but the amount of events that we do, and private dinners, and specialty cocktails that people ask for whatever their event, may be. So it's fun. There's something different every day when you come in here, so it's exciting that you guys are here and to try out some of our cocktails. We made 4 of the most popular cocktails on our list that we sell a ton of. And I'm sure people, if they were watching, they would have to agree. If there were anyone in Avon Lake, Avon, Westlake, anywhere in the surrounding cities, I guarantee you they're probably on their way here for one right now.
So before you get into them, which is the most popular bourbon drink that you sell?
So aside from our cocktail list, people always, the rise of old fashions is absolutely insane. I cannot tell you. I think one night I estimated that I had to have made over 100 old fashions, and I'm not joking when I say that. It might have been one of those nights. No, it was one of, you could tell because with our cherries that we have when we fill them in the beginning of the night, so you have a full container. And there are nights where we have to refill that container. So if you're putting one of these cherries in, even with Manhattans, Old Fashions, our cocktails, it shows how much people actually drink bourbon, and it's crazy. You can't keep it on the shelves. And when you run out of someone's favorite bourbon, they're going to the next kind of bourbon, and that's actually what I think makes them try new bourbons and a new like for different brands.
So there's been different restaurants that have been in this location, right, over the years. Why has it been Parker's that has been so successful here? I think of any of the restaurants I've seen here.
I am a firm believer that we are successful where we're at, not only because of James, who is so personable with the guests, and he's here every single night, and if he can't be here, he's at his other restaurant, so it's not like he's sitting at home just watching TV. It's one of the biggest reasons. Like, our chef is consistent, his food is consistent. There is no, you come in here one day for a burger, you come in here the next day for a steak, but it's across the board, doesn't matter what you order, it's all really good. It says it on the front window. And we laugh about it because we're like, it is all really good. And I also think that another thing is that we have created a customizable place. We're not that place that is like, okay, you go to, I'm not going to name names of restaurants, but places that won't let you customize menus, won't split plates for you to, share with your significant other. We don't ever really say no to a lot of things. Everything is pretty much made to order on our menu. So if there is something that you may not like on our menu and you want to switch out the sides, or if you're allergic to something, we work with every single dietary, restriction or allergy. So I think that has a lot to say about some places. I know a lot of restaurants that have been here in this space before didn't have the repeat clientele that they wanted because they didn't have that ownership, and when someone actually takes control of a place and actually, takes it as their own, and especially their employees do the same, it really shows.
What would be the signature dish if someone was coming off the street, never been to Parker's? What do you steer them to?
So it's funny because we all laugh about this question because we all go through like different favorites because we all eat here every day basically. I know it sounds crazy, but either we take food home. I would say between the barbecue ribs, because they are fall off the bone, we make our own barbecue sauce in-house. Our forest mushroom chicken, these are all staple menu items that will never actually leave the menu. And Chef Paul does such a great job with every single one of these. You can't go wrong with any of our hand-cut steaks. They are huge. They were at Morton's for, I believe, 10 to 14 years, each of them. So you have huge steak guys that know what they're doing, and so we do cut all of our steaks in-house. So you can't go wrong with any of our steaks, and I always suggest that to people because I don't think people really, realize, yeah, they're fantastic, but I don't think people really, look at it sometimes when they see like Parker's Grille Tavern, they think, oh my God, it's just a tavern, might be a bar, but when they walk in, they feel a different atmosphere and a vibe that, there's families that come here 4 to 5 times a week, and we know their kids' names, and I'm so sorry that your grandmother passed away. I mean, we know I would say 90% of the families in this city. So,
if you had to pick one of you carry a pretty big supply of different sorts of bourbon, pretty big variety, and I know you and I were talking beforehand that just because I think 17% is the influx of usage of spirits in Ohio right now. Bourbon's kind of becoming a little bit hard to get, at least variety. What is your most popular bourbon? When somebody walks in, you can almost be assured.
I have to say Bullet Frontier, which as much as I think Bullet's great, I think that's everyone's go-to, kind of like like Tito's vodka. Everyone knows Tito's, and they're just like, oh, I'll take a Tito's soda. A lot of people don't. When people do order a Bullet, I don't question them, like, well, why are you ordering Bullet? Have you not, tried anything else? But I usually try to have a conversation, like, after I've made the drink, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And I come to realize that a lot of people that just go to the go-to bourbons, and that's why that happens to be one of the and it's just, what they know, or maybe they're new to Manhattans or the bourbon world, which is it's interesting because it's ever changing. I mean, it's constantly, there's always new bourbons coming out, and even the bourbons that come out, years later, they're completely different than how they were, when you first tried them. So that's what I think is important with a lot of these bourbons that are new, is that people still give them a chance years later. I mean, even with, I know it's whiskey, but Cleveland whiskey, when they first came out, everyone hated their first batch, and then they ended up, kind of evolving, and their Christmas whiskey that they came out with was a huge hit a couple years ago. And we even carried it here. We had it in a cocktail, and everyone loved it, but then you couldn't get it. So it's just, it's crazy. It's the ever.
And whiskey's okay too. All bourbon is whiskey, not all whiskey's bourbon, right?
Exactly. We do veer outside of bourbon, believe it or not.
Let's start with this one.
So this is our Orange Rye Manhattan. It's on the rocks. We have Bullet Rye. Obviously, Bullet Rye is a whiskey, so we understand that. But like I said, a lot of people will substitute, whatever bourbon they want. But the cocktail itself is a staple cocktail that will never really leave our menu at this point, because we've had it for years on the menu, and it's definitely one of our most popular selling. But we do Bullet Rye, and then we also add a Luxardo cherry, and I do a little bit of the dark cherry juice just to kind of spice it up a little bit. I love adding that into a lot of my old fashions, and that's the thing. Everyone's got their own style of doing things. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You could read forums every day of people arguing back and forth of, no, this is the right way to do it, that's the wrong way to do it. And listen, do it the way you think it would be good. That's what being creative is all about. So I mean, but then also we do orange bitters and an orange peel in there. I do kind of stir it up, mix it up before I put the ice in. I load it with ice, which obviously there's no ice in it right now, but it's one of our smoothest cocktails that we have as far as bourbon goes. So definitely one of our popular ones.
It's a smooth drink. Very smooth. That's good stuff.
And Cointreau's in it as well. Sorry,
I was gonna say that taste, that citrusy taste of Cointreau really makes this a good summer drink.
It's really not enough to kind of bring out that orange flavor. Orange bitters, in my opinion, I mean, I have like a love-hate relationship with it because it's so light, and it's so like, you look at regular bitters and you could do a couple dashes and that is enough. I mean, it gives you the, fulfillment of the drink. But when you do it with just orange bitters, it's a very, very, very slight orange taste. So I don't actually shake any of my Manhattans. I just stir it a little bit. Oh, shakes. Well, normally with the orange, I'll do about 4. Don't tell James that. He's always like, why do you do so much? But with the regular bitters, I will do about 2 to 3, depending on the drink.
So what do we have this next one?
So this is, we out of all of our mules, we have a ton of different mule flavors and cocktails. This is our blood orange bourbon mule. And this right here, we just started using Fistful Bourbon. It's a newer bourbon that just kind of hit the shelves, I would say 6 to 8 months ago. Our rep actually, Colleen Goslin, she works for RNDC. She was the one that introduced it to us. And she came out and, you know, they had a promotion. We like got a couple bottles to try out. And it's actually become a favorite to a lot of people where they'll just ask for Fistful Bourbon on the rocks, which it is smooth. It's a great bourbon to have on the rocks or to mix in a cocktail. And you know, it's not like it's some well bourbon. It's actually, and there's been times where we weren't even able to get it recently. So it's
Where's it from?
I believe it's another Kentucky bourbon. So I forget. I know Colleen will probably kill me if she hears me saying this, but I forget who actually makes it. But she's the one that introduced it to us, and now our guests actually ask for Fistful, which is funny.
Sounds like a trip to Minotti's after
Yes.
the show.
Yeah, but we do our blood orange puree, which is a concentrate. So we don't do, like, a lot of places they'll have blood orange puree. They actually mix, you know, concentrate with water, or they'll, you know, kind of dilute it a little bit. We don't like to do that, honestly, because it's more wasteful that way, and you don't get as much flavor on that, because if you have somebody that's, you know, either not mixing it correctly, or you have a whole batch that you've mixed, and now you're wasting it if after a week you haven't used it because you got to dump it now. So I'd rather, you know, keep most of it frozen and thaw it out when I need it. And our blood orange puree is nice and thick. You only need a couple squirts of it. Put that in first with some lime juice. Then I put the bourbon in before the ice. That has the Fistful, and then we pack it with ice, and I top it with our ginger beer.
Now, is the ginger beer you use non-alcoholic or alcoholic?
Non-alcoholic.
It's another, you know, this is a great summer drink.
I was gonna say both of them right here are great. Like we will be here tomorrow, I believe.
This is one drink that we promote a lot, simply because of the fact that women love this drink. Sometimes women even like substitute the bourbon for vodka just because that blood orange puree, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm sure, you know, the kind that we order, you have to get it by the case. You can't just go to the store and get it off the shelves. And, you know, it's funny, there's people that are like, can you just order, like, it, you know, can I buy one bottle off of you? Because I think a case of it is like $200, $225 or something around there. So people obviously don't want to commit to that much blood orange puree. So when they buy it in the stores and they try to remake it at home, they're like, it's never the same. And it comes down to what kind of blood orange or what kind of purees you're using. Because a lot of them are like diluted, you know, and you don't realize it. You want to make sure you get the concentrate. That really changes the drink.
Oh, this one? All right.
Yeah, because this is my personal absolute favorite.
Okay. Wait, of all drinks or bourbon drinks?
Of bourbon.
All right.
Yes. So this is our spiced pear old fashioned. Okay. We kept it simple, but when he brought us a blackberry liqueur and then the spiced pear, and I'm like, what can we do with this? Like, this sounds kind of cool. Spiced pear kind of came to mind, and it's funny because we actually did this in the fall because it made sense with fall and the spice, you know. And now it's one of those that we won't take off the menu because people order a lot of it and they've fallen in love with it. But that is basically our spiced pear liqueur from St. George's makes it. And then I start off with the orange slice in there. I put some bitters, regular bitters in it. And then I do the cherry juice, the dark cherry juice, as opposed to simple syrup or sugar.
I like that move. I do that with my old-fashioned
Yeah,
as
and
well.
to be honest with you, like, what makes me most frustrated is when people are so critical on how to make old fashions. Yes, there are so many different ways to make
Absolutely.
it. But there's never a right or wrong way to make it. Now, unless you're, you know, really screwing it up and it has none of the right components in it, I can understand that. But for the most part, I always like to try to use that cherry juice in it a little bit instead
Always.
of
Oh, perfect.
sugar.
Well, and cocktails, the reason cocktails can go south so fast is when if you don't have an experienced bartender, and clearly you're experienced, if you don't have an experienced bartender, they will try to make it. They assume that you want it stronger, and so they'll skimp on all the flavors with it. Well, the whole point of a cocktail is to have flavor. If it's citrusy, if it's aromatic, whatever. That's the whole point of a cocktail.
Well, and you also want someone to order a second drink.
Right. Otherwise, I get on the rocks, right? Yeah.
And it's got to be balanced, like you said. So.
100%. I mean, I had a question, but there are so many different liqueurs that are sweet enough to use in place of sugar. There are different bitters that you can use in place of regular bitters. There are different bourbons that doesn't even necessarily have to be a bourbon. I mean, if you use rye, whiskey, I mean, you've got other things that you can still substitute that will taste just as great, if not better.
It's interesting that, like bourbon, I was telling Joe this the other day, I had a Sazerac for the first time. Have you ever had a Sazerac?
Yes, and it's so funny because those drive me the most nuts out of any cocktail.
Well, and it's hard to find absinthe, right?
We have absinthe, yes. But, so I specifically asked James to buy absinthe for the bar for our one regular Brett who comes in because he wanted a Sazerac. And so I'm looking up all these different recipes for Sazerac, and I'm like, why are there like 25 that I came across? And I'm like, so what is the right way to do a Sazerac? You know, so then I read a little bit more, and I'm like, okay. So I made him one, and he said it was great. He might have just been saying that. Who knows? He never ordered another one, so I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. We had another guest that ordered a Sazerac the other day, and I'm like, yes, we have the stuff to make it. And I was like, finally. You know, we buy this bottle of absinthe that's like $80, and it's on our shelves. You know, it's just collecting dust. So I'm like, it's about time someone orders another one. So I made it the same way I made it for Brett, and the guy was like, and even before the server took it out to his table, I even told her, there are so many ways to make a Sazerac. I go, so I don't know if this is what he's expecting, but maybe you can guide me into a direction of what he's expecting. So she had him try it, and she brought it back, and she's like, you're right. You took the words right out of his mouth. He said, there are so many different ways to make this drink. And so that's why I appreciate old fashions, because there are many ways to make them, but there are so many great ways to make them that no matter how you do it, like you'll end up liking it, like I would say 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But my point is, you can do everything with bourbon. I mean, like this happened to, I thought I was not going to like it. I don't like just sipping bourbon.
Right.
So for everyone who watches, I'm not a person who just gets it neat.
For everyone watching, I do.
You could start with a Big Rock and then just do a little bit of that cherry juice, and then you'll start to sip on it. And then.
But it softened it enough. I mean, and there was aromaticness to it, and it was just a good taste. Yeah. So, So tell us about this drink.
So this has been on our menu since our old manager, Jess. She's now at Salt. She opened that restaurant in Lakewood. She is fantastic with cocktails. She's like the guru of cocktail making. She created this drink. This is our French Manhattan.
Giving creds to other bartenders.
I would never give credit. This is not my drink, but this is still one of those drinks that we could never take off the menu. And she's been gone for like 4 years, maybe 5. I would say no, probably more than that. Probably 5 or 6 years. But she went and opened up her own restaurant, and she's doing great there. And her cocktails are fantastic. But she knows so much about bourbons and how to pair stuff. So this was her cocktail. This is a French Manhattan. Basically, as simple as it is, you have your regular, French martini. French martini would be vodka and Chambord. This is a French Manhattan because we do it. What we do is use Woodford Reserve, which is my personal favorite bourbon, and also Chambord. So it's as simple as that. Those 2 ingredients, you shake it. It does have an orange twist. We did put an orange little slice with it, but it does have an orange twist with it, and your Luxardo cherry. This is definitely one of those drinks that you. You understand why it's a Manhattan, but it's very, women love this drink 'cause it's so smooth. It's very flavorful because it's got that black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, blackberry.
I believe men love it too.
Yeah, yeah, and men do too. But that's, for whatever reason, it's been a go-to for, women. Maybe it's because it's in a martini glass.
That's a nice combination.
It's hot, in a good way.
Yes. Well, anything is because it's come to room temperature a little bit too, but
that's okay.
Might be a little cooler.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, but just the robustness, of the alcohol.
So you brought up Woodford, so that's your favorite.
It is. I were to actually make an old fashioned or a Manhattan, I personally like Woodford because it's very smooth. And I went to the Woodford distillery in Kentucky with my mom. We only made it to so many, distilleries because they're all like an hour away from each other. And by the time you've had a couple or you tasted a couple, you're like, "Woo, okay, I need to go back to the hotel room." But the Woodford was so cool. I mean, it was beautiful. The property. I think that's where I just started to appreciate Woodford itself. I had really never, other than my uncle who didn't know what I actually liked to drink, he had bought me a bottle of Woodford, and I'm like, I don't really drink this, this years ago. And then I sat in my cupboard for years because I'm like, not a big Woodford person, honestly, my go-to when I get off work is Jack and Coke, and I'm a very simple chick. So I went to the Woodford distillery, ended up loving it, and I think within the next week that bottle was completely gone, and now I just keep it in the house.
Take a few minutes to meet the owner of Parker's. This is James Mowbray. And James, I've been here personally for a few events and just had a phenomenal, outstanding time. Food is phenomenal. We talked to Mitzi a little bit about your signature dishes and what makes Parker's, what she feels what makes Parker's special. Tell us a little bit about, and here's something else I will tell you. A lot of restaurants have been in this space, as you know. I think Parker's, by far, is most successful. There's got to be a reason for that. Part of that's you. But tell us why you think you've been able to be successful there.
We looked at this space, so we've been here almost 8 years now. And before I opened up this, I was the GM at Morton's Steakhouse downtown. And I love Morton's. Morton's was awesome to me. But we always wanted a place in Avon Lake that we, myself, my wife, and my son Parker, that we could call home for our restaurant, our local Cheers Bar restaurant. So if you read any of the articles that were written about the restaurant prior to us opening in 2013, that's exactly what we wanted to create. It was just the Cheers Bar of Avon Lake. Everybody knows your name. Everybody knows what you're drinking. And we're very fortunate that it's become that and some more. And we love it. So it's it's a very diverse menu. It covers all bases. You can come out with the kids during the week, or you can come out on date night and get a nice bottle of wine and get some steaks on the weekend. So it has you can do many different things here. Plus we have the event space too. Plus we have the patio. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's one thing. I've been here a number of times, and your steaks are absolutely phenomenal. But like you said, I've had other entrees, other appetizers. You guys have a fantastic menu.
Sandwich, come get a burger, come get a bone-in ribeye, have a glass of wine, have a bottle of wine, come get a bourbon, come get this, come get that. So it's pretty diverse.
So over the time that you've had Parker's, how has bourbon evolved? Because it seems like there's definitely been a huge popularity in bourbon in recent years. So what have you experienced?
We really think that, we watched our selection over the past 8 years go from 10 to 15 up to 30 to 35, just based on our guest wants and needs and what they want. So, and it's so hard to get right now. It's all supply and demand. So we're constantly flipping and flopping on the different brands that we have, whether it's the Blands or the Mictors or there's Sam Houston. The guys just finished off the Angels Envy Rye. So it's just you get a bottle, you bring a new one in. So it's all over the board.
And that's a great bottle right there, the one that you just threw out there. What's your favorite bottle of bourbon?
You know what? I wish I could say I had a favorite bourbon, but I drink vodka. I do. I'm an easy guy. I drink vodka cranberry at the end of the night. Take care, guys. Thank you. And but hey, there's nothing wrong with a fantastic Manhattan or a fantastic old fashioned.
Outstanding. Makes sense. What's your go-to vodka?
Usually I just drink Tito's. But then Crystal Head's good. That's an awesome one. Crystal Head's fantastic. But if I'm drinking at home, I just drink Svedka.
So if you wanted to give one message to people, you know, as everyone's starting to get back out and going to restaurants and bars, what would you want to just tell people about Parker's here?
I tell you, for us here, we want to say thank you to everybody over the last 14, 15 months. But then I say for anybody out there, just be patient right now. As the restaurants are opening up, as their staffing levels are trying to ramp back up, just take it easy, and it'll all be back to normal in a few weeks. It'll be normal. But yeah, we're looking forward to welcoming everybody back. So, but yeah.
Well, we appreciate all your hospitality, obviously here at Parker's in Avon Lake. And the address, James?
32858 Walker Road.
Outstanding. Really easy access right off of I-90. We've always enjoyed ourselves here. As James mentioned, also a great selection of food, drinks. They have a party facility for events. Very large, actually. I think twice the size of the restaurant almost, or equal size.
135 over there.
Yep.
So it really has it all for you. We encourage you to come down here. Maybe you meet James, maybe you meet Mitzi, and really have a good time.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for letting us come out here tonight.
You guys are the
Thank
best.
you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now I gotta go enjoy.
Encourage you to come out to Parker's at 32858 Walker Road here in Avon Lake. Really accessible right off of I-90. Come out, check out the place, have a good dinner with the family, meet Mitzi, have some bourbon,
Exactly.
and enjoy
great
yourself.
steaks, great seafood, great bourbon, great overall service. Amazing. So thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you.